Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders, man. Appreciate everybody being in here. Look, the week, as far as Big 12 hoops, it's moving. It's moving. Some surprises last night. We're going to cover that. Also give you what's on tap for tonight as far as what the conference is. But today's Wednesday. You know what Wednesday is in the Big 12 on Big 12 Insiders, per se. It's power rankings. Last week, people were furious. And I shouldn't say everybody. There was a certain fan base that was furious about where they were ranked. I'm not sure they're going to say the same thing this week, but we'll get into all of that. But before we do, appreciate everybody being in here. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and continue to get in that comment section, man. The comments have been just incredible the last couple of days, man. So I really do appreciate your all's engagement. Thank you very much. But let's get into this. So first things first, last night, we'll start off. Look, Iowa State, they were without their top two scorers on Saturday. They get Curtis Jones back, and then they go to Oklahoma State and lose. Just unacceptable. Unacceptable. If Iowa State's trying to be the team that they're trying to be, and I get it, man, you're without one of your top scorers. I understand you're better than Oklahoma State. You just are. And yes, it's true. It's tough to win on the road in the Big 12, but you're definitively better than they are. And for you to come out and lose that game the way that you did, I mean, you never led. You never led in this game. You were uninterested, and that's what happens. You try to make a late push. It was too late. But this is what happens, man, when you underestimate teams and you just go out and get beat. And it's not like Oklahoma State played this spectacular, they shot the lights out. No, they didn't. No, they did not. They just won the game. And I don't know, Iowa State. You gotta get it figured out. You're not playing your best basketball. I get it. You're without one of your top scorers. I understand. But you're still – what you had was better than what Oklahoma State had, and you still went down there and got beat. Tough loss. Cincinnati, I told you that they needed to win out. It started with the game against Baylor. They win the game 69-67. Took some defensive stops late for them to be able to get the victory, but they did it. Now, coming up, we'll get into all of that, but Cincinnati wins out. They still have a shot. They still have a shot at this tournament, man. They really do. But we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get into the power rankings. And then West Virginia, they needed this win over TCU. The next two games are tough, but they needed this win, and they smacked around TCU at home 73-55. Good win for the Mountaineers. And that might have solidified their place in the tournament. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. 3 games on tap tonight. Kansas State, who just fallen off a cliff, taking on UCF. Both teams have fallen off a cliff, although UCF got a win in their last time out. Not sure what I expect out of this game. I'd be quite frankly, wouldn't surprise me if UCF doesn't blow K-State out. It would not surprise me one bit at all. Utah going to Arizona. Arizona's pissed. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but they're pissed, and this one might get ugly. It just might get ugly. That's all I'm saying. And it's not – look, Utah got rid of their coach, and it just looks like this one could get ugly because Arizona's pissed off. Not to mention Arizona's also really good. Let's not overlook that fact. Arizona's really good. And then BYU goes to Arizona State. BYU's rolling. That's going to, show itself in the power rankings. They're rolling, coming off a really, really emotional and good win on Saturday. Can they keep it going, though? Do they fall off the map and let the emotions overflow and then not show up at Arizona State? We will see. So that's what's going on, what happened last night, and that's what's going on tonight. Let's get into the power rankings, people. So last week, as far as the power rankings were concerned, there was a lot of can't believe you did this, can't believe you did that, questioning my basketball acronym. Let me just do this, not to toot my own horn, but so we don't get any more that gets in the way of good comments in the comments section, we can get rid of the ignorant comments. I got a Division I basketball scholarship to go to Xavier. So I know a little bit about basketball. Now, I know some people will say, well, just because you played it doesn't mean you know it. Well, maybe that's the case. But you look at me, I wasn't the greatest athlete out there playing basketball, so I had to know a little bit about how to play. So you can say what you want, and don't get me wrong, do whatever you want, but it boggles down the back and forth, the good back and forth, when people, the nameless, faceless people, just say stupid stuff about you don't know basketball. Maybe you should stick to football. Well, I played basketball, and I was pretty good at it. So there's that. Let's move on. UCF, man, they're still at number 16. I know they got a win over Utah, but you lost 9 of 11. You're still at the bottom of the conference. You can move up, but as of right now, I still have you at 16. At 15, sorry, K-State fans, you're here. You're absolutely here. 3 games that you lost in a row. I don't want to hear about Coleman Hawkins being out in the last game. Nobody else on the team showed up, including the coaching staff. The last 3 games, it's been abysmal. Just abysmal. And this is where you are. 15. Sorry. That's just where you are. Colorado, 2-2 in the last 4 games, including a win over Baylor. It seems like Colorado's starting to get a little bit better. And maybe they need a little confidence to get a win. They got one. Now they got 2. And one of them, again, was over Baylor. Now, how good do we think Baylor is? It's a different conversation that we'll get to here in a minute. But the Colorado team, as well as they're coached, I wouldn't want to be a top team if they make it out of the first, part of the Big 12 tournament. I wouldn't want to be a team that's on the bubble that has to play Colorado. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't want to be that team. So at 13, Arizona State. They went to Manhattan. They broke a 6-game losing streak. They went to Manhattan and they won. May have been some addition by subtraction, getting rid of BJ Freeman. Had clashed with coaches, teammates, kicked out of games, suspended, and finally enough was enough. Look, I get on Bobby Hurley all the time. This is something good that Bobby Hurley did. You can't let this continuously go on in your program. You can't have mercenaries. And by all accounts, that's what he was. And it doesn't seem, like I said, they did it an hour before the game. I mean, it wasn't even like this was some, they did this, 3 days ago or something. I mean, it came out an hour before the game that he wasn't going to play. So it is what it is. But good for Arizona State. Like I said, they go on the road, get a win after getting rid of one of their top players. Addition by subtraction, it looks like. Number 12, Oklahoma State. I mean, that's a huge win over Iowa State, man. Like I said, it wasn't some anomaly game where they shot the ball great and Iowa State shot horrible. That's not what happened here. They just played better. They just played better. They just won the basketball game. They were the better team from start to finish. Troubling for Iowa State, but very good for Oklahoma State. At number 11, Baylor. Now, they've lost 3 straight games. And by all metrics, they're still firmly in the tournament. And they would need to be. They've got some good wins. They've got a good enough resume. But it hasn't, I don't know. The teams that they've lost to the last 3 hasn't exactly been murderer's row. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not like they've played, the best teams in college basketball these last 3 games. That's no disrespect to the teams that they've played, but man, they got to figure this out. They're too talented, in my opinion. Too talented to continuously lose these basketball games. But then again, maybe they're not. Maybe this is just who they are. I don't know. But it's starting to seem that way because we're late in the season now, and trying to find themselves this late in the season can be tricky if they haven't already found themselves. So we'll see moving forward. TCU, they've lost the last 2 games that they have played. I think they played their way out of the tournament. I think they had an outside chance, but they kind of blew that, and then they just got mollywopped against West Virginia. But again, TCU's another one of those teams that in the Big 12 tournament, if I'm on the bubble, I don't know that I want to see them. Because, look, think what you want about Jamie Dixon. I think he's a good coach, and his teams always play hard. They may not always play well, They aren't always the most talented at TCU, but they do play hard. It's not a team that I would want to play if I have to, if I'm on the bubble and I need a win. I don't want to play TCU. Yeah, that wouldn't be somebody that I would want to play. At number 9, I've got Utah. That's an ugly loss at UCF. They were riding high, 1-2 straight, possible outside chance of making the tournament. Who knows? But I think that's all out the window now that you've lost to UCF. And it doesn't get any easier because you've got to go to a pissed-off Arizona team tonight. So this one might get ugly. I'm just putting that out there in the universe. It just might get ugly. At number 8, the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati, y'all know I love them. My love affair with the Bearcats. 2 in a row. And that win over Baylor, they needed it. I said for Cincinnati to get into the tournament without winning the Big 12, they got to win out. And they got 2 marquee big-time matchups, technically quad 1 matchups to win for them to be able to do that. Well, they got one of them at against Baylor. Now they got to go to Houston. And I'm going to say this. If Cincinnati goes to Houston and somehow wins that game, they'll win out and they will make the tournament because they will have finished 500 in the Big 12. They will have the quad 1 wins that people are looking for. They will have played well the last 10 games, which is another thing that the committee always talks about. If Cincinnati can find, I think it all comes down to Saturday for them. If they can find now, and I'm making it sound easy, hey, just go to Houston and win. No, it's not that at all. But having said all of that, there's an opportunity there for them to win. There's a path. There's a path for them to win out and get to the NCAA tournament. There's a path. So, like I just said, make it sound easy. Just go win at Houston. Just go win, and then you'll figure the rest of the season out. You'll go from there. You win out, and boom, you're in the tournament. But we'll see what happens with Cincinnati because, again, that's about as tall of task as there is in the country right now, trying to go to Houston and win. West Virginia at number 7. They needed that win over TCU. They needed it because the next 2, they're at BYU. They're at Utah. I think they got to at least split those 2 games. If they don't, I feel like they're going to be in trouble. Losing at BYU, losing at either one of them isn't horrible, but for the other games that they have lost and for their resume, you can't lose both. They're on the bubble, basically just off of it, but if you lose both of those, you're going to be right on it. And then you have no room for error. No room for error. So I think this is a big 2-game stretch for the West Virginia Mountaineers. At number 6, I have Iowa State. Now, here's the thing about Iowa State. I like Iowa State. You guys know that I like Iowa State. They're a good, really good basketball team. Not just a good basketball team. They're a really good basketball team. Let's just call it what it is and maybe not make more of it than what it should be. That was a bad loss at Oklahoma State. Losing to Houston without your top 2 scorers, you get a pass, at least from me, because the game was closer than what a lot of people thought it would be. But that's a testament to how good of a basketball team you are. Okay. But then you go and you get one of those scorers back, your top scorer, and then you go, to Oklahoma State and lose. Like I said, I don't want to make too much of it, but that's not a good loss. It's a bad loss. So for now, you got to be 6. You got 2 games in a row. You're not at full strength, but you're at number 6 this week. KU moving up. Now, before anybody even says it, no, KU has not played really good competition the last 2 games. That hasn't. Oklahoma State at home, they blew them out. They go to Colorado. They get a good win there. Okay, I get it. But a week ago or 2 weeks ago, KU splits that. They lose to Colorado. So maybe they are finding some consistency. We don't know. I like what I see out of them. But their next game is they host Tech. So we'll find a lot out about KU then. They host Tech. And especially if Tech's at full strength. So if Tech's at full strength, They're coming into Lawrence. Going to be a good basketball game. Obviously, we'll recap that on Friday. But yeah, so we'll find out a lot more about KU this weekend when Tech comes calling to Fog Allen. At number 4, speaking of Tech, that's where I have Tech. Look, there was a tough loss at home to Houston. But again, I mentioned it the other day. The games are hijacked. When you're out 2 of your top 3, your number 2 and 3 scorers, guys that can shoot the basketball. And again, just like Iowa State, the game is closer than what people thought it would be when you're without that type of firepower. So again, that's all I'm saying is look out. If Tech gets healthy and they get their guys back, look out. Because I think this showed, you play Houston, even though the game is at home, you didn't get blown out without your 2 and 3 scorers, guys that can really score the basketball at a high rate. You didn't get blown out in the game against one of the best teams in the country. That should show everybody how good they are, including guys on their own team. When they get them back, I'm just saying. But I'm not telling you anything. You guys know how much I like Tech and how much I think they're how good they are. I like this Tech team. Full strength. They got a chance, people. They got a chance. But this week they're at number 4. Number 3, Arizona. Arizona is furious on how the game ended on Saturday with BYU. Furious. And I don't blame you. And look, I'm not going to change my mind on whether I thought the call was a foul or not. I don't believe that it was. People say, well, you didn't see the angles. Well, if I watched it on television, I saw the same angles that you did. I don't believe it was a foul. Period. End of story. Having said that, Arizona put themselves in that situation because they allowed BYU to outplay them. So, and then you give up 96 points in regulation on your home court. Hey, man, look, I can be as mad as I want to about, a foul call at the end of the game. But you didn't have to give up 96 points. That's all I'm saying. So, again, the controversy, and it also went both ways. Let's not kid ourselves and act like Arizona didn't get any calls either, because they 100% did. We know that. So, but either way, I still like Arizona. I still think they're good. Are they pissed off? Yeah. Well, go show everybody how good you are and beat the brakes off of Utah. I apologize, Utah fans, but I think that's what's coming. I think that's what's coming. I think Arizona is that pissed off that they're going to take out their frustration and go to the woodshed against Utah. If they don't, that'll be a different conversation. So we'll see what happens, man. At number 2, I have BYU. People lambasted me last week for putting them above Tech and above Arizona. Well, they beat Arizona. And it's not – I didn't even pick them to beat Arizona. I picked Arizona to win the game. But power rankings, people, are not based on – like somebody told me because I'd never been to the McHale Center that I didn't know anything about power rankings. Or because – I didn't look at the net rankings. I don't know anything about power rankings. I'm like, power rankings don't have anything to do with the net ranking. You do realize that. Or whether or not I've been to an arena before. First of all, you're just assuming that I haven't been to McHale Center. You just assume that. But I don't know what that has to do with the power ranking. But that's neither here nor there. I get it. Fans, we're all fanatics. I totally understand. But BYU is playing the best basketball of their season at the time that you're supposed to be playing the best basketball of the season. Kevin Young has those guys playing very, very well. Can't tell you how big a win that was in Arizona. They should be proud. The one thing that I will say, like I said, just like I was talking about Arizona, I don't think it was a foul at the end of the game. But you know what I do know? The kid had to walk to the line and make 2 free throws in a hostile environment to win. Bad call or not, the foul itself didn't give BYU the victory. Somebody had to go to the free throw line and make free throws in order to win the game. That's not easy. It's also not a given. So that happened. Let's not leave that part out of it. That didn't give them the win. Hey, we called a foul. The game's over. That's it. No. Somebody had to make a play. BYU made the more plays, and that's it. And when I said they got bailed out, I'm not talking about the team got bailed out. I thought it was a bailout call. There's a huge difference. I don't think BYU got bailed out. Hell, they scored 96 points. How do you get bailed out scoring 96 points? I just said the call was a bailout call. There's a huge difference. So don't get personal. Don't take it personal. You know, it's not emotional. I'm just telling you what I think, period. And you can disagree. Absolutely, you can disagree. But I actually did see the replays. I saw all the replays, and you're never going to change my mind. You're never going to change my mind. I don't think it was a foul. But the kid also had to walk up and make the 2 free throws. He did it. They won the game. End of story. Move on. BYU's number 2 in the power rankings this week. And I don't think there's anybody that can really deny that at this point. But we'll see what happens. And number 1 is Houston. 19 out of 20 games they've won. Houston, they won a share of the title, which is weird that it's a share of the title because say they lose out and they tie with Arizona, they would have won the season series because they only played them once. But the Big 12 doesn't do that. They don't say, well, because you've won technically the tiebreaker, but because you've only played once, we're not going to give you the tiebreaker. I'm like, I don't understand why. I mean, you played and somebody won the game. I mean, what else are you wanting? Not to mention, I just don't know. I just don't know why the Big 12 doesn't do it that way, but they don't. Either way, Houston's that good. I mean, I think right now K-State has, if Iowa State can get their act together, 4 teams that can make the Final Four. They got 4 teams, I believe, that can actually make it. And it might be more, but I think there's 4. I'll let you guys decide. There's conversations to be had down the road on who it is, but I love this Houston team. They're definitely one of them. So appreciate you guys, man. Thank you very much for all the response and the comments and the engagement, man. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, as long as it's respectful, you can disagree with me all you want. I actually encourage it, man. So appreciate that. Remember, we're going to be live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time. We are going to be live. So make sure all you guys show up with your questions, show up with whatever you want. Rants, statements, anything. We'll be taking all types of questions on Thursdays live tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time. So I appreciate you guys being there. Thank you, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.